Hi, welcome back to Restaurant Review. I'm your host, Bob Bockelman. We're here every Saturday from 3 to 4 live, always bringing you what we do the best here. Local restaurants, new restaurant chefs, and up-and-coming musical guests here in the city. Now, as you know, sometimes we do some variations on the theme. Last week we did that, and we thought it came off fairly well, so we thought we'd do it again. And not the same thing, but the same concept. And what is that? Last week we attended one of the cities, well, really a national's not-for-profits Gala, which was a gumbo cook-off, and we got to meet and greet the chefs. We actually had a chef in residence here, and we had pictures of their gumbos and talked about them, after which we had a musical guest for you, and then we brought in an artist, and we did artist review for the second half. We're doing the same thing because there's another very honorable gala that we like to patronize, and that's for the Contemporary Arts Center, which is such a wonderful local organization that has promoted artists of all types in our city and really has been the incubator for the tremendous artist community we have. One of their fundraisers every year is called Uncorked, and they do it at one of our plush malls downtown, mainly the one with Canal Place, where our cinemas, some cinemas and Saks, all the upscale stores are. What we do there is they do bring about 10 or 15 restaurants. They bring some vintners, and for a really low token price, you can eat and drink the whole night long. At least 3 or 4 hours, and always a musical guest. They had a wonderful, wild Chapatulas, those Indians that we had that are so famous in our cities. They were the musical guests last night. So what we're doing today is we're going to be previewing and reviewing with you the chefs and the dishes that they offered to the guests last night, so you can get a feeling for it. And we're hoping that next year you'll attend one of these, because it is open to the public, very reasonably priced, and always held at beautiful locations, and just a real important fundraiser to New Orleans. Then we also will be bringing you, as we will now, a live in-studio new artist, musical guest, and then later on in the afternoon we're going to bring in a lovely painter, and we're going to talk about some of her work. So without any more time, let's go ahead and take our usual stroll to the back and meet our musicians. Okay, we have today Miss Kelsey Wilborn, and her group, she's calling herself, I believe, the Hanging Daisies. Is that right?
Hanging Daisies.
Why don't you introduce your fellow musicians?
This is Ingo Doyle playing percussion today, and
Okay.
Hillel on the cello.
Excellent. They've got a really beautiful sound, and they were very kind enough to do, as you know, we talk about some of the things that we try and sponsor and help out. Dr. Esther Dyer's Art Market, which is a studio of 40 artisans who once a month open their doors to the public, and we try and provide some music in restaurants, food for people to come and enjoy themselves. And they were nice enough to be one of the musical guests today around noon, so they're doing double duty for us today, which is really well appreciative. Tell me a little bit more about yourself. Are y'all natives or no?
We're all students at Loyola University.
Okay, but from where did y'all come? Anybody?
Ingo's from Germany. Beth is from Atlanta, Georgia, and I'm from Shreveport, Louisiana.
Shreveport, oh, wow. At least we got somebody from our native state, huh? And so you're all students at UNO?
At Loyola.
At Loyola, oh, excuse me. Okay, and y'all been singing together since you met at Loyola, is that right?
Just about a few months, I guess, actually.
Okay, all right. I know you're working on a CD and also a website, but you do appear at our favorite place, which is Phil Malone's The Neutral Ground on Dan Neal. And tell us when people can see you out there.
We're playing Thursday, this coming Thursday, is November 18th at 10 o'clock.
10 o'clock. Okay, well, great. If you get a chance, go out and see them, because it's always great to see these talented folks right in the flesh, and that way they can do a lot more songs than they can do here in the studio. Well, tell us, what will you do for your first song?
The song is called A Select Few.
Take it away. What was that all about?
Everybody needs at least one friend. And how many do I have? Who are you, and how many times have you lied to me? the bottle hits the floor. Today was good, and as the night slips away, I am grounded. There's a select few, select two, and one you, whose flowers are growing this year. My heart escapes my mind. Could you close the blinds? I have been there before.
Very, very nice. Nice melodic, soft tune. Especially today's kind of grungy outside, so that really puts you in a nice mood, doesn't it? That was Hanging Daisy featuring Kelsey Wilborn. So they'll be back for a couple more songs like we usually do later on in the show. And I hope you enjoyed them as much as we did. Okay, as we mentioned, what we're going to do today is similar to last week. Hopefully, for those who saw it, enjoyed it, but we don't want to bore you with the same thing, but at least the format was nice, and we'll go to our regular format next week. We've got a great guest lined up for you. We'll tell you at the end of the day. But what we're going to do today is feature the, as I mentioned, the Contemporary Art Center's annual gala called Uncorked. And the reason why it's uncorked is they stage it in our beautiful mall up downtown with their cinemas and great stores, and feature 15 to 20 restaurants from all over the city. And not only that, have some fabulous wine vintners who feature wine taste. So you get your signature into the event is you get a monogrammed wine glass, and you take that with you to every stand. Next to every food stand, there'll be at least one, if not two, wine vintners who'll be there pouring all different types of wine. So you get to choose and sample a lot of different types, or you can stay with the same one. And it runs for about 3 hours long, so it's really a great entertainment. Not only that, all the stores are open, giving away discounts. So for the holidays, it allows people to shop late. And they always have a great musical guest. Last year was Teresa Anderson, a wonderful young vocalist from New Orleans. This year they had the old reliable Wild Chapatoulas Indians, which we only get to see few and far between nowadays. They're so popular. But meanwhile, let's go ahead and take a look at some of our chefs that were nice enough to let us take their picks and show their food. Some you'll remember from last week because some participated in last week's gumbo cook-offs. In fact, I think it's the first 2 or 3. Hopefully you recognize them if you don't recognize them for their own restaurant. And the very first one is a wonderful restaurant. It's maybe about 5 years old nowadays, but it's called Restaurant Indigo. And since the day it opened up, it has been a really delight. Beautiful restaurant, as well as always very experimental and talented chefs. Located in the mid-city area off of Esplanade, beautiful park-like setting, and on the grounds of a wonderful bed and breakfast home that is the owner of both the bed and breakfast and the restaurant. Now, I talk so much you miss the chef. Once again, the chef at Restaurant Indigo is Jared Katz, a very creative chef. And one of the dishes, one of my favorites during the night was one of his. And what he was presenting last night was a honey lavender, get all this, marinated pork loin, hopefully in a pork loin, and served with Creole coleslaw. And this really was, and there you can see several pieces of the marinade, of the pork, super tender. Just a wonderful combination. Honey and lavender are a great thing that I really love to put together. So it makes a very, very mild but aromatic as well as tasteful rendition. So he did a beautiful job last night, and then put his Creole slaw on the side, which was gave it a little crunch, a little bite. But again, the whole dish extremely light. So it was one of my top favorites. Now another one of my favorites was the next chef and restaurant, and again, this is one that was definitely on our show last week, and this is, Chuck Summer with La Côte Brasserie. Chuck was nice enough to come back this week. As you know, I said he was with the gumbo. La Côte Brasserie is a wonderful new restaurant, not even opened, maybe opened a year now. It opened in July, I think, a year ago, in a fabulous hotel in the what we call the CBD, the Community Business District. They took this old 4-story warehouse, it was a block long, and converted it into a super luxury hotel, and at the same time a magnificent art gallery. It has a gallery in the center and beautiful artworks throughout. The restaurant is co-owned by a very famous French chef here locally, René Béjou, who also has his own restaurant, René's. And he originally opened it with a very well-known chef here called Bingo Starr, who he knew from several other restaurants, Windsor Court, other places. And Bingo actually came on the show to premiere the restaurant early in its early stages. It's a magnificent restaurant, very contemporary, beautiful scope, beautiful look to the restaurant, all on the ground floor, windows everywhere so you can watch the traffic. And very, very comfortable. They have the new chef, Chuck Schuber, and he's doing some great things. And I really enjoyed this. What he did here was a ginger, let's see if we can get that picture, a ginger lemongrass duck on wonton crisp. And there is wonderful duck breast that he's marinated in ginger and lemongrass, very Thai related, but done on a cold wonton crisp. So it really was a great, nice little clash of hot and cold. Very similar to Thai food, but again, La Côte Brasserie is a wonderful, adventurous restaurant known for its seafood. It even has a sushi type bar, all kinds of fresh seafood, oysters from all around as well as local can be eaten up at that bar, as well as magnificent, beautiful seating. Like I say, hopefully you saw the expanse and the prettiness of the restaurant as well as some of the main seafood dishes they do when we had them on originally. Okay, next, another one from last week's gumbo cook-off, and that is Zoe Bistro. Zoe Bistro is the kind of cliquish, elitist little suave bistro that opened up in the W Hotel. The W Hotel on Partis, right in Convention Alley. For years was the Royal Crown Plaza, but the W people, world-renowned hoteliers, came in, totally revamped the hotel, put it in its avant-garde status that it does at all of its other places of visiting, but also always known for its great restaurants. So I put in a great chef. Guy's name is Stuart Redhead, and he usually has, as you see, either a red cap, a red bandana, but he actually has red hair, so it's really a perfect name for him. And Stuart does some great things, and what he was doing this night, it also was a duck dish. We'll take a look at it, and this was, he had smoked duck breast, and with that he had one of my favorites, a spicy butternut squash. I have it in the soup all the time. And with that, he put a balsamic pear. He had poached some pears in balsamic vinegar. So once again, an unusual combination, but truly, truly delightful. The smoked duck breast always goes well with some type of fruit flavors, and he did it great with the pears and also the butternut squash, which was a spice to give it a little zing. So these were really, and again, folks, we're not able to show you all of the restaurateurs that were there because there were just too many, and we do want to have our other guests on. But we picked about 10 for you, and some brand new that you maybe have not even seen in our community or on our show. Some are some old stalwarts that have been around, but still are constantly reinventing themselves. Now, the next one is actually a brand new restaurant, and it's called this is Besh Steakhouse. John Besh is most known by his very famous restaurant called Restaurant August. John wasn't there last night, but what he did was take the 5-star restaurant and parlay it into a steakhouse on the top of Harrah's, which is, of course, our big casino here in New Orleans. And just does a wonderful, not only steak, but a lot of New Orleans traditional favorites. And what they did last night was their version of barbecue shrimp, and hopefully we had a picture of that. The chef, like I say, wasn't there, but we do have, I think he had one of his sous chefs there, Kenya Green. So maybe the director can get there. It's Kenya. He was doing a wonderful job in serving and explaining the dishes to it. And let's say if we can take a look here, a beautiful barbecue shrimp. You get big whole shrimps and wonderful sauce. done and put on, there you go right there, put on some little toasted points. So again, always a New Orleans favorite, barbecue shrimp, and they did a real good job of it. Okay, as I was mentioning, probably the newest restaurant among the bunch last night was this one called Gordon Biersch. And it really is an offshoot from Harris. Some of the folks from Harris went across the street. For those who know our city, across the street from the casino itself is the 4 or 5 star parking lot. They have 2 parking lots, and they took the bottom floor and made an outdoor cafe, and almost like a beer garden. And that's what the name means, because they make their own beers there, which of course we have several brew houses in our city now that are serving food. But all of the food somehow is a result of the beer. So the beer they do, the different types, are used in conjunction with all of their beer preparations. And what they did last night was they took a Boston butt and they ground it up to make it into a manwich, or a wonderful sandwich here. And it was in spiced beer. So he said loaded to the gill. But at the same time, the spiced beer was the marinade in the Boston butt sandwich, and then they had some slaw, lettuce on the bottom, done on just a regular Kaiser roll. But really an interesting feat, and so we were really glad to try it, and we're anxious for to actually go there. We talked to them, perhaps depending on how broad-based their menu is, and he said it was pretty varied. Then maybe we'll have them on the show later on during maybe early next year. But that's Gordon Biersch. And it is really in the bottom floor of the Harris Casino, directly across from the casino, right down at the edge of Poydras and that whole right by the river. So a great new addition. They've got canopies to sit outside, so when the weather's nice, great view, and a lot of people passing by there, because obviously that is the heart of the center, our convention center, as well as the casino itself. Okay, next. We were very pleased to see, because we don't always see a lot of the ethnic restaurants. Sometimes Thai, but not too many beyond this. We were great to see a Japanese restaurant. You know my tendencies and preferences toward Asian Pacific, and specifically Japanese. We have, last night we had Ninja represented, which has the second oldest female, and not in years, but in tenure, sushi chef here in the city. Ninja, and the chef and owner, his name is Momo. Let's see if we can get a picture of the young lady. She's always got a great smile, beautiful smile, and great personality, and does a bang-up job. And she brought her husband and a good staff away from her fabulously popular restaurant uptown on Oak Street. She's got a great new place. About 3 years ago, she enlarged the place because she gets such a good clientele on the second floor. And does a lot with vegetables, does a lot with greens, does a lot with native dishes. And let's take a look. I think she just did some assortment of rolls for us, but she was doing salad. Look at the stuff there. I mean, hopefully you recognize some of the tuna. Of course, ginger, there's all kinds of rolls. There's tempura rolls, you name it. Now, of course, she couldn't do everything that she does at the restaurant, but I was amazed at the types of rolls, the varied types that she was serving, as well as the great salads. And this is what makes her restaurant so famous, not only because it's a female chef as well as herself. She's trained numerous other female sushi chefs, but they do a lot with vegetables and a lot with the salad. So they'll take a lot of rolls. Some of the rolls are made into salads and vice versa. Some are very unique salads that you just can't find anywhere else, with a combination of Japanese and local ingredients. So don't forget to give them a try if you're into Japanese food, or if you want to try something adventurous. That's Ninja uptown on Oak Street. Okay, next, let's see what we have left. I think the next one, now this is a well-known restaurant. The original one has been around for, I would say, 25 years in our neighboring parish in what we call Bucktown. Bucktown is a community of restaurants that actually were built out on piers into our lake, where a lot of the seafood that we catch was available. And all during my growing up days, that was really the place to go for boiled seafoods, fried seafoods, etc. Well, they have a restaurant out there called Deanie's Seafood Restaurant, which is typical New Orleans style seafood, bulging at the platter, in which they've been around, like I say, about 25 or 30 years. Extremely successful, but never have had a chance to get a presence here in New Orleans. About 1 or 2 years ago, a restaurant opened up, again in the bottom of one of the parking lots, and didn't last too well. They were fortunate enough to take it over. In fact, it was right across the hotel that we had the gumbo cook-off last week. So Deanie's is now in our French Quarter as well, and just did a wonderful job. Now, their chef wasn't there, the manager was there, and they did a wonderful crawfish etouffee, which I think the director has a picture of. Of course, like I said, they do what he's telling me, and I know we want to have them on, that he's going way beyond the normal Deanie's, beyond the boiled crabs, the boiled seafood, the fried seafood, and even beyond the normal traditional dishes like etouffees. He's going to really be creative, and they're putting new things all together because he realizes the sophistication of the taste in Orleans, especially in the downtown community where not only you have the workers, but also a lot of our residential people. So we're looking for big things to come from Deanie Seafood, and we'll have them on in hopefully next year so that we can take a look at what they have in the beautiful restaurant they have down in the Quarter. After that, let's see, we have another one. Now this is another old-time favorite. It's called Mother's Restaurant, and I know anyone who's been in New Orleans knows this restaurant. In fact, for those who don't know and who are fans of Bette Midler, this is Bette Midler's favorite restaurant. She comes in town a lot, and when she does, she always stops by. Mother's is a restaurant that has really was at where we just talked about the casino and the convention district, even before it was a casino and convention district, when it was just strictly old rundown warehouses. Mother's really originated serving the longshoremen who worked 1 block away on the river and what they would the riverfront. So what happens is Mother's itself is a long buffet line style where the food is served right to you. And the amazing and great thing about Mother's is everything is prepared fresh. They use the freshest, not only seafood, but beef, all the gravy, and they created 2 great sandwiches here in the city. One is called a Ferdy, and a Ferdy is roast beef, ham, but also uses raw cabbage instead of the normal lettuce and tomato like we do, so it's with gravy, but it really becomes wonderful. And the most important dish that they created is called debris. And debris was basically the leftovers after doing all the cooking, the pastrami's, cooking the roast beef, cooking all that meat that would fall off that normally you couldn't serve because you were slicing as you sliced, was then gobbled up together in its own natural juices and made into a sandwich. And so now it is one of the most sought after sandwiches possible. In fact, many times any of the regular sandwiches will ask debris to be put like it's an ingredient or a sauce. So what Mother's did last year was not only expand their restaurant, they bought out the building that was really attached to them in the back, opened it up, and now, of course, it's for overflow because they're always crowded. They serve breakfast as well as lunch and dinner. They're a totally committed restaurant. But it also has private dining room where they can do catering events, a private dining for people, so it's brought it a little upscale. But once again, the food is magnificent. What's good about there, you'll never leave hungry. The portions are humongous, and the food is excellent. And what they did was, one of New Orleans, and my favorite, they did a jambalaya. Let's see if we'll get a picture of the jambalaya. And again, let's see, how did I miss here something? Oh, well, this is the chef, Roland. I forgot it. Roland is the sous chef there at Mother's, and he was doing a great job helping out the Amato family who owns Mother's. And I'm telling you, if we could look at that jambalaya, it was just loaded with chicken, seafood, and sausage. But the good thing about it, it was really jacked up on the spice, the way New Orleanians really, really love it. So this is something that New Orleans can really take home. So don't forget about Mother's. Don't get thrown by the term Mother's next door. It's basically the same restaurant. You got to go in through Mother's, unless it's a private dining situation, to get to the overflow. So it's really an extension of their dining room. But don't forget to give Mother's a try, and I think most of our native citizens have tried it at some point, and all the tourists find out about it. So we were glad to see them there because they were really a new entrant. Now the next restaurant is really, and again, the chef wasn't there, but it was a brand new restaurant. It's called Chop and Joe's. Now, it's not spelled C-H-O-P like it sounds. It spells T-C-H-O-U-P. We say, well, how the hell you get that name? Well, that is CHOP, short for Tchoupitoulas Street. New Orleans has one, just like we mentioned the Tchoupitoulas Indians. We have a phenomenal street that runs from downtown all the way uptown called Tchoupitoulas, T-C-H-O-U-P-I-T-O-U-L-A-S. That's a mouthful in spelling as well in talk pronouncing. But it is well known for a lot of the stuff it's got there. And so they opened up again, took an old warehouse, renovated it. And we really are not sure of all the food they're doing because they've only been open about 2 months. But we know they're doing native New Orleans cooking. And what they served last night was a good plate of red beans and rice. And let's see, I think our director has that. So you got basic New Orleans food. But once again, we spoke to the manager and the owners there. He said his chef was unfortunately preoccupied that time because he was working still in the restaurant. So we told him definitely we're anxious to bring them on sometime next year. So we will be speaking to them in January. We'll really take a fine, close look at one of our normal shows where we will bring the chef on and give a lot more detail of the type of food they're presenting and the really beautiful job they did of restoring the warehouse. Okay, let's see. I think we have one more. And the last one, again, is a favorite of mine, and because, again, it's another lady chef. We love to have the lady chefs coming on board. For years, we only had one, Susan Spicer, and the two Japanese chefs. Now, more and more of the ladies are coming into fruition, and we're so pleased. This is a young lady by the name of Ann Lloyd, who took over, which is really coincidence, the former location of the Japanese restaurant we just talked about. We saw the lovely Momo, Japanese sushi chef and owner of Ninja. Her original location was actually in the same little bitty cottage, not even shotgun single, I guess you would call it, but a small cottage off of Carrollton Avenue, off our historic streetcars in the Mid-City area on Jeanette Street. Only maybe two rooms at the most, a little bit of a porch. And when Ninja outgrew it because of its tremendous success, it sat vacant, and one or two other little restaurants tried it, none very successful. However, Ann took it over last year with a great new concept. First of all, she did a great job on painting. The name of the restaurant is called Mango House. And the rest of the actual house actually looks like a mango. It's done in the mango colors with the greens, hardwood floors. So it's fresh, it's lively, it's vibrant, and she does a wonderful job. And what she's done is predominantly taken Jamaican food, which we don't have a lot of Jamaican. We have 4 Jamaican restaurants here. She's taken it but done it with American ingredients. So it's authentic, but it's not because we're using, so it's a lot, so I don't go to all those, waste your time with regard to the callaloo, but she does things, fresh salads with mangoes, very, very light cuisine, flavorful cuisine, fancy drinks, of course, all the little spicy things you need, and the crazy stuff that the Polynesians and the Jamaicans do. So if you have a chance, try Mango House. Her husband is in there working with her right by her side. Done a wonderful job to really make it a popular place. Now, originally they were only open for dinner. I think they might have open for lunch now on maybe certain days, at least Friday. So check with them and see. But I think you won't be disappointed because we're talking about great use of fruit, seafood, vegetables, done in Jamaican style, but with American flavor. Okay. Did we show Ann? I don't know if we did. I didn't see there's Ann there. Very, very fun. She's got one of her sous chefs helping it. And let's take a look. What she did was a wonderful dish. She took and made a roasted pumpkin soup with creme fraiche. Just a real delight to finish some of these other dishes. Most people use soup as the beginning, but this time it almost worked out as a dessert with the creme fraiche. It was just fantastic. So we were real pleased to see Ann there. And she did just a darn up job to make almost a dessert. There was only one other dessert there. So this could certainly a substitute with the creme fraiche. But again, the roasted flavor of the pumpkin, perfect seasonal fruit right now. We're just coming up on Thanksgiving, so we have those leftover pumpkins. And rather than just have pumpkin pie, this is a great substitution. Okay, well, we've talked our way through. Again, folks, we're talking about a wonderful gala that happens every year at this time. to benefit the Contemporary Arts Center called Uncorked. And as we mentioned, your small price of admission lets you sample all of these fine restaurants and more, because we've only did 10 out of maybe 20. And not only that, lets you carry away your beautifully monogrammed wine glass and sample the numerous wines at every food station. So you can really pack away. There's no chance that the admission price is anywhere proportionate into what you're getting in food and drink value. And then also to be entertained by some of the really talented, and I forgot to mention there really are two musical guests, because the main guest is on the bottom floor where all the stores, the second floor where some of the smaller stores were. They also had one of our great chef's daughters who's a singer. Her name is Leah Chase, just like her mom. And she has a wonderful little jazzy duet. So she had a nice little secluded area up on the second floor, but everybody was right across from Mango House where it was located. So it really had a big crowd hanging there, because it was nice, comfortable kind of music, and just that laid back kind of lounge singing that you really enjoy. So again, once again, don't forget next year, look for the United Way's Gumbo Cook-Off, and also 1 week later, as always, the Contemporary Arts Center's Uncorked. Two really worthwhile charities that we're so happy to please and publicize. And we'll let you know about them, of course, next year right before they happen. All right. Well, what we're going to do now, we've talked a lot. We want to bring you back and let you hear that great musician we had earlier today. And then we're going to shift gears when we come back from that musician, and we'll tell you about it at that point. So the name of the group is Hanging Daisy. Cute little name. The songstress, the lead vocalist, is Kelsey Wilborn. And Kelsey, tell us what you're going to do for song number 2.
The song is called Carnival.
You won't hear me. I can't find you. You won't hear me. Well, I'll never find you. You once were dear to me.
This is the first.
Well, I'm gonna miss you, friend not meant for me. Hushing you once, rushing you. I didn't hear you. Did you say something? And are you choking? Fish out of water. All I can tell you is get back in. Get back.
interesting sound, huh? That's Hanging Daisy, Kelsey Wilborn, and she'll be back, and she and her group will be back for one more song at the end. So stay tuned. I think you'll enjoy it. I think she's got a real good sound. It was a nice variety. It wasn't too much like the first song, so really neat. Okay, as we mentioned, we're going to shift gears. We're going to go to our alternate show, usually when we don't have a restaurant. And today we really didn't have a restaurant to do the whole show, since we were featuring that gala. What we do when a restaurant's not available is that we're privileged to try and bring an artist on to let he or she display some of his or her wares to the community. And again, we love to feature local artists who either are transplants or are living here, so that way our community can get familiar with them. As you know, we're always pushing the art community because it's so important besides our music and our food. And we have, besides the tremendous number of galleries that we have, we also have the new thing we call the art market. Started a couple of years ago. There's one in Bywater, which is a community beyond the French Quarter, and that's like the third Saturday every month, where their artists can come and set up shop and actually sell their wares. The second one that just came in during the summer with the return of our streetcar is called the Mid-City Market at the corner of Carrollton and Canal. Draws a huge throngs on the last Saturday of the month. And they run from between 10 and 4, and artisans of all type are able to show their stuff. Well, the latest one is a good friend of mine, Dr. Dyer, Edith Dyer, who owns Art Egg Studios, which is the old American Egg Creamery warehouse, which she subdivided into 40 in situ residences for artists to actually have their own home away from home studio. So what she's done is taken the second Saturday of the month for her artists to actually display their wares. And what we do is actually, to make it a little bit more upscale compared to the other, we loan some of our musical artists, like we talked about today. Kelsey Wilborn was nice enough to do double duty for it and actually play there this morning. Plus some of our restaurants will go there and actually either give away food or maybe sell some portions, depending on what they do. And so it's an up-and-coming one. So we want you to remember always the second Saturday of the month, Art Egg Studios, 1001 South Broad. And come out and patronize them. I think you'll enjoy the day. And from that, we're lucky today that we were able to pull away one of the artists who was actually displaying her wares. We asked if she could give up the last hour of her show there and come on the show for the last half hour. And she was gracious enough to do that for us. So we want to welcome to the studio and to the show Biri Masudi. Welcome, please. Biki, is it Biki?
Biki Masudi.
Biki Masudi, please. Sorry, apologize for that. And Biki is, tell us a little bit about yourself, first of all, and how you got into painting and stuff like that.
Well, I came here like 25 years ago from Pakistan.
Okay.
And I've never attended a single fine art class.
So you're self-taught?
But yes.
Oh my goodness.
Self-taught, and this is as long as I can remember. It's been, my one single passion.
So when do you remember first actually doing your first translate, no matter how simple it was?
As far as my memory goes back.
Really?
And I was 4 years old.
Uh-huh.
That's the first time I created something.
How fab. That must be wonderful to be able to have that talent and recognize it so early in yourself.
It sure is.
Because
and I got the encouragement of my family.
That's great. Well, that's it. Yeah, that's the whole key with it. Too many people have the talent, but don't necessarily have the recognition, or more importantly, the support of their loved ones. They just let them go about and work their way out. In fact, the old days, many times that wasn't thought a reputable, quote-unquote, tradition or custom, so they would be trying to discourage their children if they leaned towards some of those arts. So we're so pleased that our world is so much better off now that we certainly encourage them in every community and every place in the world, really, not just locally in our states. Okay, what do you call do you have a style, or what do you predominantly use, what media? I know you do a lot of things. We asked you, she even paints on mirrors and all, but because of the reflections, we asked her just to bring in some of the paintings. But what is your
Actually, my
preference?
work, has versatility, and I do almost everything. I do portraits in oil, but unfortunately, I don't have any portraits with me. And then from then I went on, making pictures of buildings, plantations, and I started using acrylic paints
Acrylics.
to do that.
Right.
And New Orleans, as we all know, is very rich in
yeah.
art.
Yeah.
And so this would
Well, let's bring up the first
I
one
have
while we're at it. And this is actually exactly what you're speaking of, taking the New Orleans traditions and basically some of our famous landmarks. In fact, if I recognize, even though it might not be in position, this looks like Commander's Palace, which is a
It's
tremendous
true.
former home that's one of the prestige New Orleans restaurants owned by the Brennan family, and it's certainly a wonderful representation there.
I call this Dream New Orleans, and what I did is that this is an imaginary street. So Two Jacks is a historical, New Orleans place, and then there, the railing out here is Jackson Square, and Magnolia is of course a
Right.
flower, and then
Southern tradition
Commander's
flower.
Palace.
Yeah.
So I put it all together on this imaginary street, and it's a
Very, very nice.
theme of New Orleans actually.
Very,
No
very
one place,
No
but
one
it's a
single
theme
place.
of
It's
New
really
Orleans.
And even though this is wonderful, you'll see, I think the rest are a good number of the remainder of our acrylics are really a totally different style. And I want to show you what it looks like, and then maybe we can discuss it further, because this is what really I fell in love with. I didn't even see that New Orleans version when we first came in. But this is a beautifully framed piece. And tell us about it, please, because it is remarkable in its color, in its vibrancy. It's like a acrylic. It's like a mosaic. It's like a quilt. It gives you so many different wonderful illusions. So tell us a little bit about it, please.
Yeah, this is like 10 years ago. My art took a turn, and this is totally my own imagination. And what I do is I just blend several things in, together, and there you'll see as you go further in my work that their shapes blended into other shapes. And this one is a bit obvious, but there are others
Right.
that
Nice.
you use your imagination and
Right.
you'll see.
Sort of like what we used to call an optical illusion, where you see more than one thing. And like say, even though this might be discernible a shape, some of the others.
Some of the others aren't.
But even if not, like say, even if appreciated just for the quality of the color and the geometric shapes and stuff, and the integration of that is what really fast. Do you have a title at all on any of these pieces? Something like this? Do the title for this?
Yeah, actually, there are titles, to everything.
Don't recall what it was called. That's okay, no problem.
Okay,
Just
okay.
let us know. Now, this is
Yeah.
an oversized. I love monumental pieces. This one's not framed as nicely as the other one. It's on weather. What do you call that? Particle board, huh? Not particle board.
Yes, actually, yeah. This is, I'm having reproduction of my work as my, business is expanding.
Okay. What size
And
is this about?
this is 24 by 30.
About 30.
Yeah.
Really nice.
Yeah.
And again,
This is acrylic,
Right.
early acrylic paints, and I see that the acrylic just brings out the vibrant
It really
colors
does.
more than any other.
I think you chose the right medium to bring on that vibrancy, because even though oil's a magnificent medium, it just doesn't have the brightness. It has less the
That's
intensity
true.
that you
That's
have
true.
here. And I'm
That's
telling you,
right.
folks, this is really, really lovely. So, any title that you know on this piece? Now I'll go on.
Yeah, I have titles. This is Ruba N.
Ruba N.
Yeah, Ruba N.
Very, very pretty. I really enjoy the symmetrical look at this particular one.
Thank
Let's
you
take
very
another.
much.
And again,
Thank
we're
you.
going to have to go a little quickly today because we.
This is,
smaller
as you'll
version.
see, there are different shapes, and I just blend all the shapes, into each other. And this one is a bit obvious too. And if you can make out the shape,
Cylinder
it's a
shape.
flower, and you'll see that every petal
Is a circle.
has,
A circle.
yeah.
Yeah, that's
Exactly.
yeah, definitely.
Exactly.
And what's really cool about all of these is that even though the first one or second one we show you was framed, folks, none of the rest are. But what she's done is done a wonderful job of selecting her mats. She's got some really exotic, some just basic, but again, the vibrant colors Or here to go the opposite, the classical mode, take a black mat with a lovely gold insert to really pull away from and not to conflict with the vibrancy of the art. But here, as she mentioned, it's just tremendous. The circles in every shape you can size, but also you can visualize the flower. Is there a name on it? Here's the wonderful petals and the flowers. Any name on this particular?
Yeah, I have names around it. This is a rubicae.
A rubicae.
This is a rubicae.
Very, very pretty. And again, this is a much smaller. This is what size about.
This is like
15,
14 by
14.
17, 14 by
Yeah.
17.
But very, very. And that's what's so nice about these folks, as I mentioned, is the great matting, which really doesn't require framing, but at the same time, because it's so vibrant. Let's take it up. Take a look at this one. This is really. Look at
This
the
is
vibrancy
another
of
one,
everything.
a blending of shapes, but if you see that it's flowers that
Wow.
contain other shapes, and sometimes you can't really make out what it is.
Right. That's
And
exactly right. You can see some of the petals, but you can see the flowers becoming other things. So the transference.
there's another one that I'll, if you look at it very carefully.
I'm sorry, I'm distracted. Go ahead. I'm sorry. What you're saying?
There's another one. If next one we put it.
Okay, we're going to pause for a minute, folks. I don't know if we're having technical trouble, but we'll be right back, please. What are you doing?
Yo, what's up, baby? Wanna learn some history? Check it out, check it out. Your GED right here, guaranteed, man. Come on, check it out.
Hey, how you doing? Educational videos, top quality, right here.
I got live learning, beautiful books inside.
The National Center for Family Literacy.
Yo, I got your